Yeah, I pay my dues and get paid for it too. The outcome of my input is my favorite view. I do the work of 2.5 men like Charlie Sheen. This is what you get when you don't care about the party scene. So pardon me if I don't really
check.
I'm just shooting for the masses like I'm trying to make the
It's been a while, ladies and gentlemen.
Got these labels all confused. I should do a deal with Nike because these checks are coming soon. Ooh. Am I the only one lifted?
Check. We're gonna have a good session today. Fellow glitches, good to see everybody here. We're gonna have a good session today. You and I. Pen and paper. Because today I find myself in beautiful Hong Kong. Now you may be asking yourself, Luke Belmar, what are you doing in Hong Kong? Well, I flew halfway across the world for one very simple purpose. As Capital Club reopens its doors this summer after 4 years, I've decided to bring forth my super weapons. I have decided to give you guys access to data sets that otherwise you would never be able to get access to. So you may be asking yourself, Luke, what data sets require you to travel halfway across the planet to unlock? Well, a little bit north from Hong Kong is a small little place known as Shenzhen. Now, many of you may not have heard that name before, that city, or you may think of the visa that comes from Europe. But Shenzhen is a beautiful country on mainland China. And truth be told, when I spend time evaluating the world of e-commerce, there are some titans of the industry that reside in China. And as I weave through my network, I decided to give you guys access to some of them. So I flew halfway across the world to interview 2 dropshippers that do $100 million a year consistently. Now, most of you guys are used to people talking about doing $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year, $4 million, average numbers. In fact, you even hear me talk about doing pretty good numbers in e-commerce and having become a multi-millionaire through e-commerce, but I'm nowhere close to $100 million a year. The reason I wanted to give you guys access to these people inside Capital Club was for one very simple reason. It's to show you guys that there's levels to the levels, that there's levels to the game. Because unless you're able to see it, can you truly believe it? And the answer is, with so much bullshit on the internet, it's kind of difficult. So it's my job to pull back the curtains and give you guys access to individuals who run the game. So tomorrow I sit down with both of them individually, and they've been doing $100 million since I think 2017, consistently every single year. And what I want to do is convey to you guys that there's levels to the levels, because when you see $100,000 screenshot, or you see a $100,000 day that Luke posts, I mean, that is a crumb, a little grain of rice compared to the numbers that some of these guys are pulling, and they're real numbers. So these individuals are extremely anonymous. They don't make courses. They don't even show their faces. So me being able to get them to interview inside of Capital Club is going to be phenomenal. So what is Capital Club? Why is it that dudes that are doing $100 million a year in e-commerce say, you know what, Luke, for the first time ever, I'm going to show my face and I'll do it to your people? Well, the reason being is because Capital Club over the last 4 years, ever since I created it, and then I'm going to teach you guys and tell you guys the reason why I created Capital Club in 2019, is because I realized that as I venture into the next level of my career, into the next level of my journey, the quest, it's extremely important to realize that, like I said in a prior vlog, it's not about what you know. In fact, it's not even about who you know. And it's not even about who knows you. But the truth is, who likes you and who's willing to go to war for you. Now, people are telling me to hide the chat. Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I know for a fact somebody in here is recording, so you'll be able to see it on YouTube to recap. But I want you guys to be focused. Ignore the chat, ignore the conversations. There's going to be a lot of distractions in your life. This is just another one. So when it comes to e-commerce, there's hundreds of billions of dollars a year being transacted, right? Hundreds of billions of dollars. The problem is you haven't seen a single dollar of it. Therefore, you do not believe that it's real. So I have to bring these individuals, these glitches in the system, to show you guys that it's possible. Now, these guys have nothing to gain. They're doing it because they're part of Capital Club. That's it, right? They're doing it because they're part of my network. They're part of our organization. And what I've come to realize is that if you want to level up, you need to understand that the people in your network are going to be the ones that give you the data sets to get to the next level in your career. It's very simple. You know, one of my mentors, who's now, I appointed him as CEO of Capital Club, and he joined me on this venture, Steve Tan, who's done $200 million in e-commerce. Back in the day, he showed me $111,000 day, right? And that was when I was worth maybe like $1 million. And I saw the $111,000 day, and it completely shattered, right, my preconceived notion as to what was possible and what was real. So when I convey a message like, you know what, making $5 million in a day is doable, it might shatter, or it might go against the programming that has been set up before you were born to keep you a slave, to keep you dumbed down, to keep you limited. But as a man thinketh, so is he. So the question is, how do you reformat your thinking? Because I see you guys, you know, a lot of you guys joining these communities where people make $50,000 a month, $60,000 a month, $100,000 a month. And I understand that that may be the next level for you. But what if you could just skip that level and get to the next one? Because it's possible. Now, if you want to make $1 million, you best begin surrounding yourself with people that make $1 million. If you want to make $10 million, you best surround yourself with people making $10 million. Because you are, like I said on a story yesterday, you are a cumulative of the people that you surround yourself with. So the question is, who do you surround yourself with? Because as false as it may seem, the people that you surround yourself with are a direct reflection as to who you are as an individual. So look at the people that you're surrounding yourself with and ask yourself, candidly, with sincerity and honesty, are these people a reflection of me? And to most of you, the answer is yes. So as I realized this, I said, you know what? I need to intentionally surround myself with people that are at the next level. So how do I put myself in these rooms? How do I put myself in these situations? Well, you have to provide value. Well, Luke, how do I provide value? You have to study individuals the same way that you study markets. Write this down if you're taking notes. You have to study individuals the same way that you study markets. Every person, regardless of their age, their income, their net worth, their race, their religion, every single person has a need. Every single one of them. The question is, are you able to identify it and provide that value and fulfill that need before somebody else does? And trust me, guys, many times this need is not financial. So for example, I have these guys coming that I'm going to be interviewing tomorrow that are here in Hong Kong doing $100 million a year in e-commerce. Guys, $100 million. You do not find these guys on the internet posting shit on YouTube. You understand what I mean? You don't find them doing that. They're secretive. Why? Because their career path is completely different. So I placed myself in the situation realizing that, hey, you know what? Maybe monetary gain isn't what these people want. I live in Puerto Rico, as most of you guys know. And, you know, I've had conversations with a few billionaires there, many people that are into the 9-figure realm, many. And you coming in wearing a designer shirt, wearing a Rolex, wearing a pair of Louis Vuitton shoes, it doesn't impress them. It's bullshit. These guys are walking in $15 Havaianas and a wife beater tank top, and you wouldn't even know the amount of money and the amount of markets that these guys move. But maybe they want to increase their lifespan, right? Maybe to them what is important is having friends that don't ask for money, sitting down and smoking a cigar, or hanging out, or finding people that are loyal to them. So you need to be able to identify these situations and understand how to play your cards right. So as I unlock these data sets, I'm trying to convey these to you in real time. Because it's extremely important for you to understand that if you want to surround yourself with winners, you have to become a winner. You have to become a winner. You watch my YouTube videos. Every person that you see on my YouTube videos, I have directly provided value to these people in a way that was massively important to them, requesting nothing in return. Nothing. Every single one of them. My network, Capital Club, is comprised of people who I've poured myself out to in different ways, giving them access to different deals, giving them access to different opportunities, depending on who they are, what their needs are. And I've been building this network and curating it. So much so that when I say, you know, CC23, that's happening in Spain, is coming, right? That's the elite Capital Club event that gets together every single year. 100 entrepreneurs pay me $15,000 each to come in 8 hours. In 8 hours. So do the math. 100 times 15,000, do the math. How is this possible? Well, because they understand that the network has value. So let me ask you, does your network have value? Or does it not? Because inflation is rampant. Everybody here should at least at this point understand that money's not going to keep you safe. Yes, money is going to provide for your needs right now. But this idea of fiat currency is an experiment. That's what you need to understand. When you begin to study money in its current form, fiat, is an experiment. It has never been tested before to this manner. And every time where there was the dilution of the purchasing power of a currency, empires imploded. Let me give you a story. Rome, as it approached its end, they began minting coins in gold and in silver. And as it became harder for them to, pillage gold or find gold supplies or take over different kingdoms to find new gold, or taxes weren't being paid. Somebody out there had the clever idea of diluting the gold with either iron ore or some cheap metal. And as the dilution continued, these gold coins ended up being like 0.1% gold and 99.9% iron ore or one of these cheap metals, to the point where Rome collapsed. It collapsed. So you need to be able to be a student of history to understand that just like the seasons happen, the world has cycles, ebbs and flows. And if you understand these ebbs and flows, you can prepare yourself. So people are like, Luke, you got lucky when you dumped your entire net worth into crypto in 2020. I said, I wasn't lucky. The Fed literally said that they were buying assets and dumping trillions of dollars of bullshit liquidity into the market, which, if you look at history, means what? The markets pump. So yeah, maybe I could have invested into Meta or Amazon, but the market caps were super high. So I said, you know what? Let me go to a market cap that is extremely low. When I dumped my entire net worth into crypto, the entire crypto market, hear me, ladies and gentlemen, the entire crypto market had a $250 billion market cap. The entire market, right? So when people say, Luke, you got lucky. No, there is no such thing as luck. There's only probabilities. So when you understand how to position yourself and you have a network that teaches you how to think and gives you opportunities to prepare yourself, well then, you increase your probabilities of success. The peasant is the one that thinks that circumstances just happen. But when you are an intelligent individual, you realize that circumstances are created by people. But you're not in those boardrooms. You're not in those meetings. You're not in those decision-making operations. Therefore, you assume that people have the same level of intellect, the same level of willpower and laziness and lack of motivation that you do. But in reality, there are some bad motherfuckers out there. There are some real ambitious people ready to take over the game. It's been happening since the beginning of man, since the dawn of time. Napoleon Bonaparte, self-declared Emperor of France by the age of 27. Alexander the Great wept at the age of, in his early 30s, because he had conquered the entire known world. There was nothing left to conquer. Yet you're here in your late 20s and your 30s jerking off, assuming that everything else in the world operates by the same limitations as you. So you need to rewire your mind. You need to rewire your operating system. And nobody's going to tell you this. Nobody is going to be in a situation where they are going to be willing to compromise their livelihood to tell you the truth. There's very few. There's very few. But I have nothing to lose, really. My financial state is secure whether I open up my mouth or not at this point. So it's interesting, I started opening up my mouth recently about some things. A lot of you guys were asking about East Palestine, Ohio. As soon as I get back, I post that vlog. I have my bank accounts frozen, right? My bank accounts get frozen. Money gets frozen. Not just frozen, it gets deleted, right? It gets deleted. And then as I do an investigation, the government pulled that money, right? And, well, it was just a mistake, right? It ended up just being a mistake. Oops, and then the money just showed up again. And then some of my apps also got banned. Some of my cards got banned. My ability to process with some credit cards got banned. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what happens. So when people are asking for updates, that there's other situations that are at hand beyond making another YouTube video. So please be conscientious. So then I was like, okay, maybe Bitcoin is the solution. But then you begin to study Bitcoin and the history of Bitcoin, you're like, ah, shit. Like, maybe Bitcoin was created by the NSA, right? Maybe there is a backdoor to Bitcoin. Bitcoin isn't as private as people think. So if money is not secure, and crypto's full of scams, which we know. Look at FTX. I lost money in FTX. I lost money in Celsius. A lot of you guys lost a ton of money. I have buddies that lost $10 million, $15 million on FTX. And as you guys listened to my conversation, I don't know if you did or not, my data set with the formal head of the Central Bank of Albania, where I had a conversation with him and I asked him, you know, is crypto money? Is Bitcoin money? Not crypto, but Bitcoin is Bitcoin money. He said, well, ultimately, yes, Bitcoin is money, but Bitcoin follows the policies of the central bank. Because where the fuck is this liquidity going to come from, right? This liquidity doesn't just come from anywhere. It directly comes from the policies of the central banks. So as much as we like to believe that Bitcoin is sovereign, it is still tied to the dictatorship of the few. So if money is not safe, if freedom of speech is not safe, if the school system is programming you, then what is it that you have left? Two things. You have two things, ladies and gentlemen. And these are the two things you need to focus on. Hear me out. Write these two things down and focus your entire natural life developing these two things. Ready? Write this down. Number one, inflation-proof skills. You need to develop skill sets that are resistant to inflation or stagnation or a recession or a depression, in fact. So what are some skills that you can develop that are going to allow you to be in a situation where you are protected? Because if your confidence lies anywhere outside of your skill set, per se, in the marketplace, then you're fucked. Because right now, a lot of you guys have a lot of trust in the fiat system because you've been conditioned to trust the fiat system. When you look at the dollar bill and it says, "In God we trust," who's this God? Who is this God? It ain't the God of the Bible. I can tell you that for sure. You understand? The money is the God. So your trust is in the money and the God that they've created, that you worship, that you spend your entire life chasing. So when people come to me and say, "Oh, Luke, you just got rich off of crypto." Brother, I don't give a fuck how I got rich. Do you hear me? I got rich and I got out. That's the goal. So you need to develop skill sets that are inflation resistant. Your ability to sell. Your ability to create. Your ability to network. What do I mean by create? Create is being able to take two different things, and you can't technically create something, right? The word create comes from a term known as ex nihilo, which is something out of nothing. So technically we can't create anything. We just reform things, energy, right? Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. We know this is one of the laws of thermodynamics. So how do you take energy and reformat these things? Your ability to think critically and logically. Guys, ask yourself, why the fuck? Like, I know we have people from all over the world, but everybody has like constitutions, right? Everybody has their constitutions. Why the fuck has nobody taught you your Bill of Rights? Why do you think they didn't teach you the Constitution of the United States in the school? They didn't teach you these things. Why? Because they only taught you enough to make you feel like you're educated, but in fact, they led you astray. Because fucking studying the rocks and shit, sure, it may be cool for a few people, but for most people, it's not going to make a difference. Studying the clouds and studying all this stuff, like, okay, sure, it may be interesting for some of you guys. That's fine. but teach me how to balance a fucking checkbook. Teach me what the fuck are taxes. Some of you guys are in your 30s, in your late 20s. You've yet to sit down and read your Bill of Rights. So when people ask me, Luke, what are you reading? Dude, I'm reading the dictionary. I'm trying to understand what the terms and definitions are of things. I'm studying the Bill of Rights. I'm reading the Constitution. Oh, Luke, that's stupid. That's crazy. Sometimes you have to be crazy in a world that is extremely normal. The crazy ones are then in the future revered as geniuses. Leonardo da Vinci, at a given time, he was considered a freak, considered a genius by very few. But he famously said, Leonardo da Vinci famously said, to develop a complete mind, study the art of science and study the science of art. Learn how to see. Realize that everything connects to everything else. So when this genius says, to develop a complete mind, you need to realize that things connect to each other, and that what you do in a certain area of life applies to every other area of life. Why did nobody ever teach you about health? Who the fuck came up with the food pyramid, telling you that starches and grains were the most essential and healthy part of your diet, yet everybody here is dying? They told you that the was healthy. Now people are dying left, right, and center. I can't even mention it. I'll probably get blacklisted again. You understand? But I don't give a fuck anymore. So let's just be real. Anyways, the first thing is you need to develop inflation-proof skills. How do you network with people? How do you sell? How do you communicate? How do you perceive that which cannot be seen with the common eye? How do you develop a complete mind? A complete mind isn't only focused on money. You understand? If you're so one-dimensional, you're never going to win at life. The second thing is your network. Because the definition mastermind originated from this concept of uniting many minds together to form collectively a mastermind. A mastermind is multiple minds coming together and expressing opinions and points of view that potentially are contradictory to each other, that are opposing each other's views, that cause friction and stress, but that polish each other through consistent refinement. Iron sharpens iron, we know this. As I walked through the Parthenon in Greece last year, and the sun was setting on the ocean, and I could see the sun beaming through these pillars, these white, beautiful pillars. I just imagined the Stoics sitting there conversing, dialoguing, arguing about the intricacies of life. And I realized there's a new era that is upon us, the era of the digital Stoics, where you're no longer afraid to give your opinion, where you're no longer afraid to stand by truth, that you're okay messing up, that you understand that failure is just a construct of the system to keep you from trying, that if you surround yourself with winners, you will inevitably become a winner. Somebody said there's no ocean in Greece. Call it a sea. Does it really make a difference? You see, these are the problems with people. People are so focused on the nuances that they don't seem to understand the bigger picture. They're caught up in the semantics and the words that they neglect the principles that I'm trying to convey. Don't be so botted. Understand that language is just a construct. As long as my message is communicated clearly. You need to understand that communication is not what one says, but what the other person understands, right? That's what communication is. So as long as my point came across clearly, then we're in the green. So let me ask you again. What are the inflation-proof skills that you are developing? And what is the network that you have around you? And what is the intentionality that you're going to apply to make sure that you do not end up in the situation that 99% of the world is in? I posted on my Instagram story just now. I'm here chilling on this beautiful lounge chair, 5-star hotel in Hong Kong. Just got back from all-you-can-eat Japanese Wagyu. And I look down and you have the highway here. Traffic jam. Everybody coming back from their 9 to 5. When you begin to realize that in the feudal times, the peasants had more time off than most of the people working a 9 to 5. Go look it up. Go look how many days peasants had off to just fuck off and do whatever they wanted. So as much as you call them peasants, they had more freedom than 99% of the world. It requires a lot of honesty and a lot of self-reflection. Something that most of you guys have yet to do. Mark Twain famously said, "It is easier to deceive a person than to convince a person that they have been deceived." So let me ask you, have you been deceived? Have you been lied to as to how the world works? Have you been lied to as to what is the solution of life? Now, most of you guys say, you know what, invest in a 401k, making $400,000 a year puts you in the top 1%. Brother, but $400,000 a year can't even buy you a house. Well, yeah, you can buy a house. Yeah, if you go to the fucking bank who printed the money out of thin air and request a loan. So when you begin to evaluate what your money's worth, you can't even buy a house. You can barely buy a car. Yet somehow you assume that you're secure and that you're safe. It is a false construct, ladies and gentlemen. It is a limiting ideology. And people come in and out, which shows you people do not even have the brain capacity or the brain power to stop for a few minutes and to listen. They're so on this TikTok bullshit all day, instant dopamine, that they're just rats running through the maze, cogs of the machine. But hopefully you're different. For your own sake, I don't give a fuck. As much as I care, the quality of my life is impacted very little by your decisions. But your decisions impact the quality of your life to the fullest. So please, take some time and have some self-reflection. Nobody's going to do it for you. Go study the origins of a 401k. Oh, invest in a 401k. What the fuck do you think is a 401k? You don't even know, and you're dumping money into it. We have this idea of as when you retire, you have a social security pension or whatever the fuck this is. And then you start looking at social security and they're fucking bankrupt. And then you start looking at the insurance that you have at a bank that is FDIC insured. And FDIC is insured by the good faith and credit of the United States of America. It's insured by nothing. Nothing. So much so that when presidents arise, like Lincoln, or like Kennedy, JFK, and say, hey, you know what? Maybe we gotta get rid of this fiat system. They end up with a bullet on their heads. Go study the story of the greenback dollars. Go study the history of the silver-backed dollars from the treasury. And you'll realize that there is a big agenda going on. And that if you believe that you know a lot, then you already lost. The more that you know, the more you should realize that you know nothing. So once again, I ask you, what does your network look like? And what type of skill sets are you focused on developing? Oh, well, Luke, I need money. Then maybe learn the skill set on how to make money. Oh, Luke, I'm trapped. I'm in debt. Do you understand how many DMs I get every fucking day? Hundreds of DMs every single day. Luke, I'm broke. Lend me some money. Luke, I don't know what to do. Go pick up a fucking damn book, dude. What do you think? I'm going to give you a little piece of advice and you're going to apply it and your life is going to change? That's not how reality works, dude. You are today where you are based off of the decisions that you have. At the age of 18, I began to understand these concepts and develop my network. I've been at this game for a decade almost. It takes time, but you need to get started where you are today. Sure, maybe you have no money right now. Maybe you can't go and get into a room with people that are worth tens of millions of dollars. Maybe you can't, like myself, sit down tomorrow and interview 2 e-commerce giants that do $100 million a year. But maybe you can go and find a mentor that's making $100,000. Maybe you can go surround yourself with a group of friends that are actually ambitious and want to go to the gym instead of going out and partying. But you need to put yourself in these situations. I hear people being like, oh, I live in X, Y, and Z country. There's nobody here that wants to network. There's no real entrepreneurs. In every country, there's people with money. In every country, there's people with ambition. There may be less in some countries than others, but they're still there. Welcome to the age of the internet. And if you don't believe that there is, well, you already lost. It's like you going into the game already assuming that you lost the game, might as well not even play. So anyways, those are a few data sets I wanted to impart on you. So tomorrow I'm going to sit down with these entrepreneurs, as I've been doing, traveling through Asia, interviewing guys that do $50 million a year, $30 million a year, a couple billionaires. And when Capital Club opens this summer, you will have access to this content. You will have access to this information. You will have access to this network. So Luke, why are you reopening Capital Club and why did you close it in the first place? Well, in 2019, I opened up Capital Club. I got several thousand people joined and I closed it within 2 days because I realized that my focus was to multiply my wealth. As you guys understand, Capital Club is in the premise of 3 sequences of money: the creation, multiplication, and preservation. I had already created my money. Now I had to go to multiply it. And I couldn't manage a community to be in that situation. And ever since 2021 to probably about last year, 2022, we were in preservation mode. But now we're back in creation mode. And I've devised an ecosystem inside Capital Club, not only for elite entrepreneurs, which was what I focused on over the last 3 years, but for the aspiring entrepreneur. The person working a 9-to-5 wanting to get out. To give you guys the data sets, the information, and the knowledge, the skill sets that are inflation proof, and the network that is resistant in order for you to get to the next level, whatever the next level looks like for you. And it may vary. So with that being said, Capital Club opens this summer, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be very simple. I'm going to open it up for a couple days. Straightforward. Straightforward. It's going to be $1 a day. Why? Yeah, I thought it was good. But I was talking to my payment processors and they're like, Luke, you can't just charge $1 a day on every single credit card, obviously, because then you're going to get flagged. So it's going to be charged as a 1-year thing. And I don't know if I'm going to do this every single year. It's just going to be a 1-year thing. 1 year. I'm committing to you guys 1 year. And after that, we'll see how this aspect of Capital Club pans out. Because I have an ecosystem, right? Right now, I'm developing a funnel. Because if I can teach you guys the basics, right? If I can teach you guys how to develop a business, if I can teach you guys how to network, if I can teach you guys how to understand money and the skill sets and the infrastructure that's necessary, then what I can do is I can curate it down all the way to my high tier mastermind and my high tier event, which is where all these people are making a ton of money outside of myself. And then most of you guys know right now I do private equity, right? That's kind of one of my bigger focuses. One of my bigger focuses is private equity, right? So if I can educate people, it reduces my risk of figuring out if businesses are going to be successful or not, and then be able to invest in these companies through my private equity firm to guarantee a higher possibility of success, right? Because if I'm going to invest money and time into something, look at, for example, go and look at Shark Tank, how many of these deals actually pan out. It's like 30% of them or some shit like that, probably even less. Most of them don't even work. But if I can mitigate that risk initially, which nobody has done before, it's going to be top tier. So if you want to level up, if you want to have access to information with literal billionaires, with people doing $100 million a year in multiple niches, gain access to a network for less than the price of a fucking coffee every single day, then I'll be waiting for you. Otherwise, well, you're on your own, or whatever network you want to be a part of. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to leave one final data set for you. Oh, and people are like 365 for 1 year Capital Club. Yeah, that's what it's going to be. But remember, I also have to pay Joe Biden his tax, so it's going to be 369. I'm gonna keep it like that because you guys know I like my 369. Nikola Tesla said, if you understand the power of 3, 6, and 9, you'll understand the secrets of the universe. But we'll leave that conversation for another day. That's a whole different Pandora's box to unlock. It's going to be a crazy one. But be on the lookout. And as soon as I leave Hong Kong this week, I'm flying back to Singapore, where I will be getting together with 15 individuals, one of them being the son of the former Prime Minister of Singapore, the former president of Singapore, to basically talk about how the world works. We'll be sitting down with a couple hedge fund managers that manage $2-3 billion funds. We're going to sit down with e-commerce savants, trading savants, not people doing $50,000 a month, $80,000. No, that's not how I work. That's not how I operate. But I learned something extremely important from a character in The Dark Knight, known as the Joker. He said, if you're good at something, never do it for free. And people that pay attention, even if it's the price of a coffee. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, those are my data sets for you. I'm here traveling the world, unlocking data sets myself, expanding my own mind, and I'm bringing you guys along for the journey. So go have some introspection, go have some time by yourself, Go dive into your own mind, your own thoughts. Ask yourself, what is it that you need to get to the next level? And are you willing to commit to yourself to get to the next level? And if the answer is yes, then you need to get started, because time is of the essence. Your family's depending on you. Your parents are depending on you. If you're married or have a spouse, your spouse is depending on you. If you have kids, your kids are depending on you. You yourself are depending on yourself. Nobody's going to come and save you. You know this. So the question is, what are you going to do to make sure that you ensure that regardless of recession, inflation, stagflation, whatever it may be, that you are positioned to win? If you position yourself in the right way, if you're connected to the right people, and if you have the skill sets to be in the top 1%, there's nothing that is holding you back. So spread the word. $1 a day, Capital Club, coming this summer. We'll also have some biohacking. We'll have some dope shit in there as well, because I know a lot of you guys fuck with what Nate's been doing, and you want to elevate not only in finance but in mind and body and spirit. And it'll be a process of development. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you guys very soon. I enjoyed this time with you guys. Maybe we'll do it more often, but appreciate your time, and I hope you leave better than the way that you came. Hashtag undeniable in the comments, or hashtag 369 if you're ready for Capital Club coming this summer. All the love, all the power. Luke Belmar, out.